Updated nutritional guidelines released by the U.S. government Tuesday ignore scientific advice regarding the consumption of sugar and alcohol. The new guidelines encourage Americans to, quote, make every bite count. It also dismisses recommendations from the government's own scientific advisors who say current limits on sugar and alcohol should be made even lower. The federal dietary recommendations are released every 5 years. They serve as a standard for everything from school lunches to food stamp policies. They even influence how food products are manufactured. Critics say the new guidelines also failed to address the pandemic and climate change. For more on this, let's bring in Sharon Zarabi. She's a registered dietitian, a nutritionist, and program director at the Katz Institute for Women's Health, New York City and Westchester. She joins me now from Roslyn, New York. What are the new recommended guidelines and what's behind this change?
Yeah, so as you said, the new campaign is Make Every Bite Count. And what the USDA guidelines are just trying to encourage nutrient-dense foods. And I think all of us know what's healthy for us, what's not healthy for us. They're encouraging whole foods like fruits, vegetables, grains, dairy products, and protein sources. We're supposed to be limiting our portions and trying to consume the most of our calories from whole nutrient-dense foods and limiting processed foods.
Tell us more about the scientific advice, which it just doesn't seem to be taken into consideration with these new recommendations.
So we're all in this. The media is pushing with everything happening with COVID that the evidence is in the science. And in the summer of July of 2020, research has shown, and again, as a dietitian, I can tell you, there's a lot of evidence showing that we're consuming way too many calories from added sugars. Now, although food labels have changed over time, and we don't just see total sugars anymore, we've actually added a component where we see the added sugars coming from high fructose corn syrup, concentrated syrups into sweetened beverages and processed snacks. What people can't differentiate is where all these extra calories and sugars coming from.
Go ahead.
So I was going to say the current guidelines are that we are supposed to be limiting our total calories to 10% from added sugars. The science committee was trying to bring this down to 6%. Currently, we are consuming about 13% of our calories from added sugars. So can we actually even cut this in half with the current trends that are happening is really the big question.
Let's take a step back here and just some basic information which seems to be missing from some of these new guidelines. What are some of the health problems which can be traced to too much sugar consumption?
So as a dietitian, I specialize in bariatric surgery and obesity management, and I see a whole slew of metabolic effects when we consume added sugars. It can cause type 2 diabetes, it can cause metabolic syndrome, it can cause insulin resistance. We have a huge obesity epidemic, and this is coming from the excess calories that we're taking in.
As Americans have shifted to doing a lot more at home, we are closer to snacks. We're a bit more sedentary because of the pandemic. Earlier this month, the American Academy of Pediatrics raised concerns about children's nutrition and physical activity during the pandemic. I mean, taking your kid to a park right now, I know for me and my little one, it's not something you can readily do. Before you could. What concerns do you have with these new guidelines, knowing that the pandemic has obviously made what we can do physically tougher?
Yeah, so as a dietitian, I am a little disappointed that we're not following the science. But I do believe that we all have the power and the responsibility to make informed food choices. I think we need to stick to whole foods. We need to watch our portions. We need to stay as active as possible. There's a whole host of new avenues that we can stay physically active with virtual fitness routines and personal trainers who are doing all of these new dynamic exercises in the home. So 80% of weight loss is diet. It is what we consume. So I think that whatever we can control, we need to put a little bit more effort and energy into.
There are updated guidelines for young children and mothers. So basically, what do parents need to know?
So this is the first time the guidelines now actually include recommendations for pregnant women, breastfeeding women, infants and toddlers under age 2. So they're trying to cover all, ages and lifespan. And they are encouraging for women to consume more healthy fats, a lot more seafood, omega-3 essential fatty acids, which are important for cognitive health and brain development. And also, they are suggesting that for any infant under 4 months to limit any common allergens like egg and peanuts, and to keep added sugars low as well.
Well, I know as a parent of a 5-year-old, you're always watching to see the sugar content and the other names for sugar that are put into food. Very insightful. Sharon Zarabi, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.